This is Mastering Your Wealth with David Gagnon, the podcast.
What do you think is holding people back from having a successful income plan? Is it a few things? Is it just the idea of sitting down with somebody like you and having this conversation? Is it the current economic and political times we're living in that are keeping people hesitant on the sidelines? What are your thoughts?
Here's what I've run into over the years. People have developed a relationship with somebody that has helped them with some of their investment decisions and where they invested their money. And that's fine while you're working because you have a paycheck to fall back on. That's covering your bills. It's very predictable. But when you get into your retirement or close, and now you have to go from accumulating money to distributing money from your savings plan, a lot of questions come up. And people are calling us because their investment advisor is not giving them any advice on what to do with their Social Security options, their pension options, their investment plan strategy that needs to be aligned with their income needs, and other things, healthcare planning and estate planning. So a lot of people are looking for a strategic plan design that they see in their own numbers, that's quantifiable, that validates their ability to spend money at their leisure at the level that they want to enjoy their retirement. And too many people go into retirement with their blinders on. They start taking money from their investments, not truly understanding where it's best to draw from what sources they have and when to turn them on, because there's a lot of moving parts in an income plan. Longevity risk is a big challenge. People are worried about outliving their money. There's a lot of people, I'm sure that are in their 80s and 90s. And I have so many clients now in their late 80s and early 90s. And a lot of these folks have been with us for a long time. And, we took the financial anxiety out of the retirement because they were working off of a plan. They knew they could live life, not worry about their money, and the plan helped them make better decisions that worked to their advantage. And that's the key. You got to have a plan to follow, because I've been doing this for decades. I've never seen anybody come in with a strategic plan design during their accumulation years that's been designed to reduce taxes in the future alongside that, and an income plan. And so people are looking for answers that they're not getting, and this is what we do. We're a comprehensive planning firm. We're independent. We do tax planning, income planning, wealth management, estate planning. So, there's a lot of voids that we can fulfill because we've been doing this for a long time, and we're doing real planning. And your decisions are easy. When you can work off a plan design that identifies what you need to create in the form of benefits and tax efficiency and longevity needs and out-of-pocket health care, once we see your numbers, now it's easy to pull the layers of the onion back of what you need to do today to implement the right strategies with the right financial tools and approach. And it makes your retirement a lot less uncertain in your mind, because you see in your own numbers how that's going to work out. So a few months back, we had a couple that called in, and they're thinking about retiring, but they weren't getting answers from their current investment advisor on what they should do with their income, what sources to turn on. They had a pension decision to make, what options to take there, when should they take their Social Security, and how do they try to mitigate some taxes into the future. And when we did their analysis, we always talk about our forecast analysis, and we always look at what you're presently doing today, and we model that out throughout your lifetime and take into account inflation and taxes. And what we saw was, if they were going to follow what was being suggested to them to do, they had a high probability of running out of money in their mid to late 80s. And they both felt they had longevity and they would likely live past that. And what we did was also a portfolio x-ray. We wanted to see how their investments were invested and what type of risk they were exposed to and what kind of yield that could generate. And they were all invested in growth, because a lot of times people would just keep their investments intact while they were working, and then that's what they draw from when they're in their income years. Well, when we looked at what they lost in 2022 in their investment plan, had they retired then and started drawing from that, that could have shorten the lifespan of that money by about 4 to 5 years. So people don't understand it's a whole different ballgame when you're in your distribution years and taking money from a portfolio that could move in value if it's invested in the market. So what we did was we laid out a strategic income plan design. And we, first of all, figured out how to optimize their Social Security, which indicated, based on our analysis, the two of them should defer to age 70. Now, they were going to retire at the age of 65. And so the first thing you think about is, well, how do I find income for 5 years until I take my Social Security? Well, we show people how to do this because we use different tools to create income at higher yields. And overall, we built in a lifetime income amount on top of their Social Security because they wanted some peace of mind knowing they had a certain amount of income they could never outlive. So we designed some lifetime income. We also built in a backup health care plan that doubled that income in the event they needed it for health care. So when we ran the analysis and compared it to what they were presently doing with a customized investment plan strategy and a distribution plan strategy, they were fine, past 100. And we even stress tested for higher inflation. They were going to have plenty of income. They had their money aligned with what their income needs called for based on the analysis. And this is the key. When you're proactive and you identify what's going to work best for you and you use the right investment tools and strategies and you base it on your own data, now your decisions are easy. Your probability of success is much higher because people walk into retirement with a plan of hope. They have a nest egg and they start drawing from it and they make costly decisions and mistakes on when they take their Social Security and not optimize their pension options. These are things that you don't even know you made the mistakes. Now, we see this because we can quantify the data and show what the possibilities are of the costly mistake that could arise from that type of decision and help people avoid that. So you get peace of mind when you do planning. It's just like building a house, right? You wouldn't build a house without a set of drawings, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You don't know what you're going to end up with.
Yeah, you got to
and
have
you're going to have
plan.
a lot. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of waste. You're going to have a lot of things that you didn't plan for that will likely derail that project. And the world of finance is the same way. You want to work off of a plan and base it on your personal objectives and desires and goals. So people are reaching out to us that are looking for answers that they're not getting. And tax planning is a big thing that we do as well. So, that's an important area to try to mitigate and pay only your fair share of taxes, not anything more than that, by putting together a forward-looking tax strategy.
The stock market has touched record highs throughout the last probably 2 years or so, with tech stocks leading the way. But then you have portfolio manager Keith Gagnon, who tells Yahoo Finance that investors really need to bring an umbrella.
I think we're going to have some kind of corrections as we go throughout the year. A 5 to 10% pullback shouldn't be a surprise. So we're warning investors that they need to bring an umbrella, prepare for a little bit of rain. If you were a 60-40 client, a couple years ago with the big run up in the stock market, now you're more like a 70-30 client. So what we want them to do is rebalance, get back to that 60-40 where your original plan was. So that's what we mean by bringing an umbrella.
All right, so bring an umbrella, right? Be prepared for a rainy day. What are you telling clients out there who have, most, if not all, of their retirement savings in the market, David?
Well, a lot of people are really concerned about the height of the market and where their account values are. And when you're still working and you're not really that close to retirement, you might be 5 years out or so, those folks don't seem to worry about it too much, but the ones that are getting close to retirement, they realize that if there's a big drop in their portfolio that they're going to rely on for income, they need to be more proactive in what are the options to protect that money. And when I say proactive, what we want to do is look at, all right, how do we put airbags on your money and still try to capitalize on the market if it still performs positively, but have some downside protection. And so, there's things that we do very differently because we're using options that put buffers on your money. So we could have the money invested that's still in the market, but you have what's called hard buffers, which means you're protected for the first 10 or 15% of a drop in the market. So think about that. If you can avoid that 10 or 15% and still get most of the upside, that's giving you some safety and some protection factors on that. And there's some hedging strategies that also buffer the downside. Sometimes you want to look at non-correlated assets that when the markets are going up or down, you have assets that are going up. So, that's another way of trying to mitigate some of the market volatility. And then there's different product types out there that can give you ultimate guarantees on your principal, but can participate in the market on the upside and give you a competitive return opportunity and lock in those gains if those situations occur. But you have to take a look at an investment plan strategy that's going to diversify not only your investment types, but also your strategies. And make sure it's aligned with what you need your money to accomplish for you. And so the closer you get to retirement, and if the market is up to where it is today and it drops shortly before retirement, that could change your retirement decisions, not in a good way. You might have to work longer or spend or live on less. And so you want to be proactive with your planning, because if you're reactive, you're reacting to a situation where your financial pain threshold has been reached because something bad happened. Maybe your portfolio dropped 30%. Now people start to look for better alternatives and decisions to make. But at that point, it's too late to usually fix the problem. We're hoping to get to people so we can show them how to avoid those situations.
You know, when you retire, you leave lots of things behind, right? You leave the commute, you leave the daily grind, you even leave that alarm clock behind you. But one thing that you keep is a tax bill. I know taxes are, very top of mind right now, especially lots of tax changes possibly coming our way. And in fact, income taxes might be your single largest expense in retirement. David, can you walk us through this tax worry?
Well, taxes is something that you can mitigate in the future, but you have to kind of put together an evaluation today to see how do you become more tax efficient by being better tax diversified in where you store and accumulate your money. So if you understand the tax code and you understand the financial tools and how to integrate those two very efficiently together, there are ways to greatly reduce your taxes in the future. And what we want to do is take a look at how much you should be saving towards your retirement goals and how much of that money should be in taxable investments, how much should be in tax deferred, like your qualified retirement accounts, IRAs, and how much really should be in the tax-free bucket. Because if you can figure this out and you can be more tax efficient in your retirement years, you're going to keep yourself in a lower tax cost, which means you have other sources of income that, besides your income distributions from your investments, they're going to be subject to that tax cost. So you have your Social Security benefits, you might have annuities and pensions, you have your IRAs, your 401ks, your taxable investments. And so, what I look at is being your financial strategist. How do we look at all these moving parts from a tax perspective, looking into the future with what you're doing today, so that we can put you in better control? So you don't have to pay unnecessary taxes and you've taken advantage of the tax rules, because taxes are a big erosion factor on accumulating wealth, on drawing income that goes back into your pocket. So, this is the thing that you want to kind of figure out sooner rather than later, because if you're making these better decisions today and you have time on your side to compound these better decisions, you're just going to reap the benefits of more income later or wealth accumulation, and just give yourself a lot more peace of mind knowing that you did everything you could to mitigate the tax man and enjoy a more fruitful retirement with more income.
Now, this next topic, oh my gosh, I saw it all over social media. Some folks are really, really, really upset about this, taking it personally here. I'm talking about our friends over here at the New York Yankees, because for nearly 50 years, they have been banned for having beards, the players, of course. But now the team has reversed it. They say that, yep, go ahead, do it, take care of it. Yankees chairman Hal Steinbrenner says players can now sport a well-groomed beard. Listen to this.
Our new vice president has a beard. Members of Congress have a beard. The list goes on and on and on. It is a part of who these younger men are. It's a part of their character. It's a part of their persona. I did make the decision that the policy that was in place was outdated and somewhat unreasonable.
All right, so I don't know. People got really upset about this, about they've never had facial hair. Things are changing. People don't like change, basically, right? They like routine. Things stay the same. Things start changing. They get a little excited about it. Got me thinking about some, financial strategies that have evolved over the years. We say it all the time. It's not your grandfather's retirement. What would you say are some things to consider that could be outdated when it comes to financial planning?
Well, I'll tell you, the 4% rule always comes up in a lot of conversations with folks. And think about that. What the 4% rule really is referring to is when you get to retirement, you should be able to live on 4% of what you saved up to that point throughout your retirement years on top of your Social Security. Well, when you think about that, everybody's 4% number is going to be different depending on how much they've accumulated at that point in time in retirement. And that might not be enough for you to manage your lifestyle and live the way you want in retirement. So I hate these cookie cutter pieces of advice because every plan should be personalized so you know that whatever you're going to save when you get to retirement is going to be the right size of your nest egg to create that income that's going to last as long as you do. A lot of people are trying to fall back on saving a fixed percentage of income, which also kind of corners you into what you're going to be able to live on when you get to retirement. So if you're only saving 5% of your income monthly or any other number, you're also going to be cornering your ability to make that money last as long as you do, and it might be at a spending level that's much less than what you need to live on. So I hate that rule of thumb. And some people think that they can live on a specific dollar amount to retire, but when you have so many variables that affects your money, inflation, healthcare costs, unpredictable market returns, or things that just come out of the blue with your home or major capital purchases or family needs. I mean, kids always seem to come around when they got a big expense problem or they want to get married and they need the wedding paid for. So you have to kind of stress test your planning for those unexpected events. And some people fall under that. They try to follow that 100 minus age rule, which kind of will determine what mix you should have in stocks and fixed income funds. And, if you take the number 100, subtract your age, then that's going to indicate how much you should have in equities and fixed income. And as you get older, obviously more of that money is going to shift over to more fixed income. Well, that might not suffice for your spending needs or your income levels that you're going to need to generate to live comfortably. So I hate these cookie cutter pieces of advice because everything should be personalized. Because if you follow that all your working years, it's too late to kind of fix the problem if you haven't kind of planned accordingly, right? I mean, it's a plan of hope, and you don't want to kind of follow that path and then can't fix it when it's too late when you're in retirement.
For more details or to sit down with David for your complimentary financial GPS, visit masteringyourwealthradio.com.
Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone.
Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice and should not be relied on as such. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional.
Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosure of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A Item 4, for additional information.